Kelvin, Kiptum, and Tigst, Assefa, respectively, set records for the men's and women's marathon this year. But the real winners might be Nike and Adidas. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and you are listening to Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. JR is the producer. He has uploaded the full lesson content to plainenglish.com/624. That's where you will find the transcript and all the other lesson resources to go along with today's main story. Speaking of today's story, there is a new world record in the men's marathon, and there is a new world record in the women's marathon. Both were set this year within weeks of each other. Setting a marathon record is an outstanding feat, not just for the runner, but for shoe companies too. In the second half of today's lesson, I have for you possibly the least useful phrasal verb we've ever discussed. But if we don't talk about it today, then we never will. It's lace up. And we have a quote of the week too. Let's get going. A marathon is a road race of 42 kilometers, 195 meters. In imperial measurements, that's 26.2 miles. Legend has it that a Greek messenger ran from the city of Marathon to Athens to announce victory in a battle. And then, having arrived and given his message, he died from the exertion. That story may or may not be fully true, but here's something that is true. Marathoning, the sport of running 26.2 miles, is more popular than ever. There are over 800 official marathons around the world. The biggest, New York, London, Chicago, Berlin, Tokyo, they attract tens of thousands of runners each year, the vast majority amateur. But some runners run to set world records, and a new generation of super shoes is helping them do it. How fast do you think the world record is? In 1908, the world record was 2 hours, 55 minutes. The record steadily fell until 1970, when it reached 2 hours, 9 minutes, a reduction of 46 minutes in 62 years. Then, elite male runners seemed stuck at about 2:09. For well over a decade, it seemed that humanity had reached its peak performance. And then a curious thing happened starting in 1999. The world record started to fall more quickly than in the recent past. And now, 5 minutes have come off the record in the last 10 years. An astonishing pace considering what had come before. Last month, Kenya's Kelvin Kiptum set a new world record in the Chicago Marathon, 2 hours, 35 seconds. Could it be that men are getting faster again? Maybe, but there's another factor that has emerged in the last 2 decades, and that is the super shoe. Kelvin Kiptum was wearing Nike's new Alpha Fly 3 running shoes. They're so new, they're not even available to purchase in stores yet. They're part of a new generation of shoe technology that's changing the world of marathoning. And it's not just on the men's side. In that same Chicago Marathon, Ethiopian Sifan Hassan won the women's race wearing the same shoe, the Alpha Fly 3 prototype. She ran the second fastest marathon ever. When was the fastest for a woman? It was just weeks before in Berlin. Tigst Assefa, also from Ethiopia, set the women's record wearing Adidas's high-end marathoning shoe. The new generation of marathon shoes differs from running shoes you might find in a typical sporting goods store. They are extremely lightweight. The Adidas shoe is just 138 grams, 40% lighter than the company's other premium racing shoes. The sole, the part between your foot and the road, is also thicker, but made with ultra lightweight foam. By making it lighter and thicker, the foam sole absorbs more pressure on every step, and it also returns more energy to the runner. That's a fancy way of saying it's bouncier. So every time a runner pounds her weight onto the ground, the shoe helps her bounce up into her next step. The new shoes also feature a carbon plate inserted into the sole. The carbon plate does 2 things. First, it prevents the shoe from bending. When a shoe bends, energy is wasted. So the carbon plate makes the shoe more rigid. And the plate is a curved shape, so it makes the shoe rock forward and back. So again, when a runner's weight presses down on the pavement, the shoe nudges the runner forward with its curved shape. This saves energy. Now, you won't be surprised to learn these shoes are expensive. The Adidas shoe is $500, and the company only released a few hundred of them at first. A new batch will be released this month. Nike's latest generation will be available next year. But if the price took your breath away, wait until you hear this part. They can only be used once. The shoes are rated for a single marathon level race, including pre-race training and warm-ups. So every time elite runners compete, they'll lace up a new pair of $500 trainers. Is any of this cheating? An international body called World Athletics maintains the record books for track and field. They publish strict guidelines for what shoes are acceptable during officially sanctioned races. One of their criteria is that shoes must be available to the public. And these new shoes are careful to comply with the rules. Runners only wear commercially available shoes that meet the standards, so that if they break records, they definitely count. So in my opinion, it is not cheating, but the technology is forcing us to reconsider what it means to break a marathon record. These runners are elite athletes. We don't take anything away from them. But whenever a record falls, there is almost as much attention on the shoe as on the runner. I don't know what that messenger in ancient Greece was wearing, but I doubt it included a carbon fiber plate. I should mention a few things. One, I do know that someone has run a marathon in less than 2 hours. That was Eliud Kipchoge, probably the best marathoner ever. He ran it in Vienna in 2019 on a course and under conditions that were specifically designed to help him break 2 hours. He did it in 1 hour, 59 minutes, 40.2 seconds. It didn't count as an official record because of the assistance he got. Now, somebody on a bicycle rode beside him to give him water, for example. But a man did run a marathon with his own 2 legs in under 2 hours, which is incredible. The second thing I should mention is that this same thing happened in swimming about 15 years ago. Speedo made a suit that caused records to fall at the 2008 Olympics. Now, that swimsuit was banned, and they came back with another one a few years later that met the guidelines. Here's a quick quote for today. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. That is from William James, a philosopher and psychologist. I'm working on that. I think I'm getting better. So here it is again from William James. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Now, I always try to select English expressions and phrasal verbs that are going to be useful to you in your daily lives. Today is not one of those days. I'm going to give you a phrasal verb that I use maybe once a year. I checked the archives and I have used it exactly once in the voluminous history of plain English. Lace up. If you're wearing shoes, look down at your feet. The strings that you tie together, those are shoelaces, or laces for short. So what other types of footwear have laces? Boots have laces. Ice skates have laces. Roller skates and roller blades have laces. That might be it. Now, I'm not the expert, far from it. But I think some dresses have laces in the back. I can think of a scene from the movie Titanic in which Rose's mother is tightly pulling and tying laces on the back of her dress so you can lace up a dress. Boxing gloves sometimes have laces. Your coach can lace up a pair of boxing gloves for you. But for the most part, you're going to use this with footwear. Now, if you go to your closet and pull out some shoes or boots, if you put them on your feet and if you tie the laces, you just tie your shoes. That's not lace up. Lace up is when you first put the laces onto the shoes and fasten them onto your feet. You can also use this if you put on a pair of shoes after a long time of not using them. But if you just take your shoes off and then put them on again later or the next day, you don't lace them up again, they're ready for you to tie. But if one of your shoelaces breaks, or if you buy a new pair, you'll lace your shoes up. You put the laces on for the first time and fasten the shoe into place on your foot. Now, very often, this is used as a metaphor for doing some kind of sport or activity that involves shoes with laces. And that's how I used it today. I was talking about the new Nike and Adidas running shoes, the ones super fast marathoners wear. Those shoes are rated for just one competition. They're not designed to hold up for more than one long race. So I said, if you want to wear these shoes, you'll be lacing up a new pair every time you run a marathon. You'll lace up a new pair because you're going to be using a brand new pair. You're going to be putting the laces on for the first time every time you run a race. Now, if you live in the northern hemisphere, it's probably getting cool right about now. And if you live really far north, you might be getting ready to lace up your ice skates. In the coldest places, the rivers and local ponds and lakes might freeze over come December or January. And you'll be ready to lace up your ice skates. That's a metaphor that means you'll be ready to put on your skates for the first time in a while. Do you really put new laces on every year? Maybe, maybe not. But this is a metaphorical way of saying you're going to start doing that activity. You're going to start ice skating again. I told you about my road trip to Yellowstone National Park a few years ago. Prior to that, I hadn't been on a long hike in many years, but it was fun to lace up my hiking boots again and go on a challenging hike. Was it fun to put the laces on? No, I don't remember. But this is a metaphor for starting the activity. So yes, it was fun to get my equipment ready, to get out there again and go hiking. It was fun to lace up my hiking boots after so long. If you're a boxer and you have a boxing coach, you might have lace-up gloves, but it's not possible to lace up a pair of boxing gloves by yourself. Close your eyes and picture a boxing glove with laces going down one side. Now imagine yourself tying the laces on one hand, and now here's a question. How are you going to tie the laces on the other hand if the first hand has a boxing glove on it. That would be why most people buy Velcro or other types of gloves. You need a coach or someone else to tie the lace-up gloves. Well, I have run 3 marathons. I will not be lacing up for a 4th. But if any of you have run in one of these shoes, maybe not these elite shoes, but a previous generation, do let me know. I'm curious to see what you think about them. So leave us a comment in our Facebook group. If you're not in there yet, you can join at plainenglish.com/Facebook, totally free. And that is all for today. You know, just talking about marathons, I think I have burned a lot of calories. I bet you have just by listening. And it's a good thing too, because on Thursday, we'll be compensating, maybe even overcompensating, because we'll be talking about Twinkies. See you then.